Hello everyone and welcome back. In this video, I want to educate you on recovery being a lifelong journey or a lifelong process. And I'm making this video because I came across an article about a child actress. Her name is Natasha Lyonne, Lyonne. I'm going to put a link to the article in the description to this video. And I guess Natasha was a childhood star, and at some point started to use various substances, and became ended up with a substance use disorder. And in this article, she talks about the fact that she says here the Poker Face star. I guess Poker Face was a program she was in or a movie. Says here the Poker Face star began drinking alcohol and using drugs in the early 2000s while working as a young actor. She ultimately entered as an inpatient treatment facility in 2006, where she got sober. After 10 years of sobriety, Leon announced in January of 2026 that she recently relapsed. Spiraling into addiction is really, really scary. She told, I guess, Entertainment Weekly, a magazine that was interviewing her. And so I wanted to make this video because, when families call us and they've been dealing, they've been suffering with a situation with a loved one for a long, long time, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, and sometimes even longer. One of the conversations we like to have with them is about what does the recovery process look like. And every once in a while, I'll get somebody who calls us and says, I'd like to put my loved one into treatment for 30 days. And my response to that, my team's response to that is, we wouldn't take the case. It's not because we don't want to help you. It's that we know that on day 31 or day 32 at the outset, when they leave, they're almost certainly going to relapse. That's what happens. And so let me share with you what recovery looks like. And sometimes, and I think this article is a good example of that, sometimes there's a relapse. Sometimes relapsing is a part of the recovery journey. And recovery is a journey. It's not a destination. It's not do 30 days, do 60 days, do 90 days of treatment, done, good to go forever. It simply doesn't work that way. It's a disease, and it has to be managed, and it has to be kept in check. And one of the, I think, amazing things about the work that we've been doing for the last 10 plus years is the fact that we've made so many good friends in the behavioral health space, many of whom are in recovery. And whether they've been in recovery for 2 years or 5 years or 10 years or even longer, without exception, they continue to work on their recovery. And what I mean by that is whether it's going to a meeting on a weekly or bi-weekly basis, whether it's maintaining contact with their sponsor or acting as a sponsor or continuing with some type of outpatient care, they're continually working on their recovery. I mean, I sort of liken it to, if you want to stay in shape, you got to continue to eat good and go to the gym or exercise, right? If you don't, I know if I don't eat well and I don't exercise, pretty regularly, I just get fat and out of shape and I feel pretty crappy. And as I've gotten older, that's become more important and more critical for me staying as best I can healthy. And so when a family comes to us, this is what we tell them, and I'm going to explain to you what the journey into recovery looks like. Typically, we want to put somebody into some combination of residential and PHP, partial hospitalization, for minimum of 3 months, preferably 6 months. So even our Marchman Act cases typically go 6 months. We'll go 90 days, get an extension, go another 90 days, right? Because the goal here is to keep somebody in recovery for 1 year. We know from experience that if you can keep somebody in recovery for at least a year, the chances are they'll stay in recovery for the rest of their life. Now, is it possible, like Miss Leon, there could be a relapse? Yeah, there could be a relapse. But for the families that work the program, they typically get a good result. The ones that don't typically don't get a great result. Okay, so here we are. We're going to do 3, preferably 6 months of a combination of residential and partial hospitalization. Well, what happens for the next 6 months? This is where the magic really starts to work. Well, we would love for them to go work in, go reside in a recovery residence, sometimes referred to as a sober home. So they're in a supportive, encouraging environment with other people who are also working on their recovery. So there's the recovery residence. There is going to meetings. There's 12 steps. There's getting a sponsor. There is continuing to work on an outpatient basis with a clinician of some sort. And so we want to continue to work on the recovery, right? Do the things that are necessary to maintain recovery. But, these days our cases are very challenging. In February of 16, when I opened up the office in the local library here, the bulk of the cases that we were, frankly getting calls on were, alcohol and recreational drug use. Two things really changed that: COVID and the legalization of marijuana here in Florida. The bulk of our cases are driven by severe primary mental illness. And you add a little legalized marijuana into the mix, you got a pretty challenging situation. And it takes time to pull somebody out of a marijuana-induced psychosis. It doesn't happen in 30 days, at least based on our experience. And so I share that with you. I'm going to share the article with you so you understand. This is not like do it and forget it. We work on recovery. We give your loved one the tools they need to experience recovery, maintain recovery. And while all of that's going on, it is super critical for the family to do the work that is necessary for them, because in a year from now, your loved one's going to be a totally different person, and you're still going to be here where you were when the process started. And it's so important for the family to do the work. And if you don't know it, I'm going to tell you, the bulk of the families that we speak to are severely traumatized by what they've been dealing with for all these years, year after year after year after year. And it's so important for you to do the work. Take the time to recover yourself as the family, because this issue with your loved one I'm almost certain when I say this, has been slowly destroying your family. If you're like any of the literally thousands of people we've spoken to over the years, it has been destroying your family. So it's super critical for you to take a little time for yourself. And I want you to take the time for yourself and let the clinicians do what they need to do to work with your loved one. So I appreciate you tuning in. Thank you for listening to me talk to you about what the recovery process, the recovery journey looks like. If you have any comments or questions, if you agree with me or disagree with me, or you want me to make a video about something that's critical, an issue that's come up with your family, let me know. Post something. I read all of your comments and questions and objections and all disagreements, typically within 24 hours, and I respond to all of them. So I appreciate you engaging with me. If you like this content, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel. I'm putting out a video or two every single day. I want you to get the information you need so you can decide if you want to have a conversation with us about what options may or may not be available to you as a family. Maybe an option is to do some legal intervention, or maybe, and one of the options is to do a non-legal intervention. You won't know until you have a conversation with us, but we have a ton of resources and we want to make them available to you. And with that said, thank you for tuning in. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.